Do you think you'd be happy if you were told you'd live underground? What if you were living underground but were the richest person on the planet, with all your friends, loved ones, and everything you need? Would you still agree? If the world were ending, I don't think you'd have a choice about where to live. The important thing would be to stay alive. It's similar to the characters in the series Fallout. It's one of the newest and most powerful series released in 2024, and everyone is following and interested in it. So, please watch the summary and let me know if it's worth all the hype and attention. The series starts with a grand birthday party held in a very upscale part of the city, on a high hill where the rich are building their homes. The rich are always found in either high-rise homes or in areas isolated from the rest of the people, so they don't have to live among other social classes. The mother walking among the children, and whenever she spots a TV playing news, she changes the channel to a music station. She goes around turning off all the TVs that are broadcasting news and other bothersome stuff because it's her son's birthday, and she doesn't want it to be filled with such news. Then we see a man performing as he wraps a rope around his body and the horse without actually touching it, looking a bit disappointed. Meanwhile, all the children are gathered around him, excited and happy. Afterward, he dismounts the horse and calls the birthday boy to take a picture with him and his horse. At this time, while they're taking pictures, the father is with him, and his friend asks him how long he's been working at birthday parties. He replies, it's to pay for his living expenses. Howard's daughter asks him why he didn't do the famous gesture with his finger. He explains that it's something for adults, and recalls that it used to be said if a bomb was dropped on them, they should put their finger up like this. If the explosion was smaller than their finger, they'd be reassured. If it was bigger, they'd stay in place. But as they don't give a crap about such things, he then goes to get a piece of cake for her, but when he comes out, there's an explosion, and his daughter is terrified. At this moment, the birthday boy's family enters a bunker, revealing that they've prepared it and seem to know what's about to happen. When the friend asks to come along, he's told there's no room for him and then got beaten. Then, Howard riding with his daughter on horseback while the rest of the people are trying to move their cars and escape. After 19 years into the future, Lucy talking about herself. She mentions that she is skilled in crafts and mechanics, knows how to do gymnastics, and participates in a book club. She respects her father and that during her free time she watches movies with him. Despite taking good care of herself, being clean, and having everything in order, she still hasn't found a right man here. She decides to get married. Everyone smiles and agrees, congratulating her. She then goes to her relative, telling her that she's happy she's getting married too. She gives her the dress and says, "Congratulations. Keep it safe, but don't worry, it will come off quickly." The relative responds that she's very happy to be getting married after all these years of deprivation. As the wedding approaches, we see her father standing below with many people from Bunker 33 around him. They have a screen displaying a beautiful rural scene and are setting up chairs and tables for the wedding. Then he tells her she looks like her mother and that he's happy she's finally getting married and going to a new home. She replies that she's very happy but wished her mother could be there with her for this moment. Next, she walks with all the bunker residents and her relative to the door of Bunker 32 next to them. He tells them the doors are broken. She responds, saying they can't get married because they're relatives, so stop being jealous and open the door. The people are waiting. He agrees and opens the door, looking unhappy. They all walk in and find the residents of Bunker 32, who will be Lucy's future husband. The people from Bunker 32 appear disheveled and weird, but they overlook it. Lucy's father greets them warmly. He starts by apologizing for the news about their supervisor's death, expressing condolences and hoping the celebrations will resolve their issues and help them forget the past. They then say they will provide them with grain, some weapons, and useful items, while the woman from Bunker 32 says they will give them a spouse in return. The groom steps out, and Lucy introduces herself, saying, "My name is Lucy." He replies, "My name is Monty." They then head to Bunker 33 to celebrate the wedding, where everyone sits at one table to eat. The eating style of Bunker 32 seems a bit weird, but they overlook it. Lucy's brother watches their leader with suspicion and discomfort. Later, Lucy talks to the groom and asks, "How many sperm do you have? Surely the doctor checks you regularly and tells you." Then her father goes up on stage and expresses how happy he is that they are preserving America with their lives and being part of safeguarding human heritage. He adds that he doesn't want them to worry about the future because, according to their research, pollution will decrease on the surface soon, and Monty and Lucy's children will be able to inhabit the surface, God willing. He then encourages everyone to dance, and Lucy dances with her father. Everyone pairs up and dances while they change the background to nighttime instead of daytime. Lucy's relative appears to be sitting upset. Later, Lucy's husband comes to her and asks, "By the way, where is our room?" She takes him there so they can start living together like newlyweds. At this time, Lucy's brother, unable to wait any longer and feeling uneasy, goes to Bunker 32 while everyone is at the celebration. When he enters, he finds that all the plants are ruined and burnt. and the place is empty, dark, and feels abandoned. He then goes further inside and discovers the bodies of Bunker 32 residents, realizing that something is seriously wrong. He quickly runs back to find his family. When Lucy's groom gets up and leaves her, she feels that something is wrong and notices his body is injured. She places her bracelet on him, which emits a large beam of light. She then reveals he is from the surface and declares they are invaders. As he attacks her with a knife, he throws her away and prepares to kill her, saying, "This was actually the best day of my life." Lucy struggles with him, eventually managing to take the knife and stab him, but he overpowers her, and she finds the knife embedded in her own stomach. She retaliates by hitting him with a cup, and then kills him. After that, she gives herself first aid and exits the room to find the alarm sounding and her family missing. Outside, she finds everyone around her dead and brutally killed. Armed with a tranquilizer, she searches for her father and brother. She encounters people fighting and killing each other, and without hesitation, she kills anyone she encounters if needed. She sees people being attacked with knives, and Bunker 32 residents are unable to defend themselves from the violence. She finds her relative holding her dead husband, then kills the person responsible for his death but is injured in the process. Lucy manages to save her brother and hides him to keep him safe. She then encounters her husband, who tries to kill her. Her father appears, fights with him, and ultimately drowns him in a pickle barrel. Lucy and her father leave, but they find a woman holding hostages, offering the father a choice between them and her. He chooses her and takes her, locking her in a room in the bunker. He tells her, "You are my whole life. I will not sacrifice you." The woman then tells him to reveal the truth about the situation, saying they are the result of a cheap trick and a big lie. The woman then tranquilizes him and says to Lucy not to worry. He will be taken out to live in the real world. She instructs Lucy to always remember Moldavore. She places explosives on the bunker door and leaves. The hostages run back to the bunker and a massive explosion occurs. What happens afterward remains unknown. We then shift to the other main character in our series, Maximus. We see him being pummeled in a circle of his fellow soldiers as part of a physical strength and endurance training exercise. He tries to defend himself or block the blows to allow someone else to take his place, but it's to no avail. They all bring him to the ground and continue to beat him until they're satisfied, while he also fights back. After the training session, they are seen sitting in a classroom with their instructor. The instructor tells them that one day, they will be a source of pride to their steel brethren and will assist their knights in carrying out important and significant missions. Then, they are shown an electric circle, and the instructor asks if anyone knows what it is. Maximus doesn't know and gets struck, while another person answers correctly. The instructor tells them that they need to have a thorough understanding of everything so they can retrieve what they need accurately when searching for it. Next, a large shadow moves across the area, and they all go outside to see a massive airship. Strange ships land, and the Steel Knights disembark from them. The instructor, along with those responsible for the Brotherhood, goes to outline the new target for their upcoming mission, Maximus and his friend cleaning the bathrooms. His friend tells him she wants to show him something, but he declines, saying that it's not worth lying. She then shows him the armor up close, remarking on its heavy weight and how it's a source of pride for anyone who wears it. When someone comes to call her, they think they'll be punished, but she clarifies that she was the one who suggested coming there, not him. Maximus then remembers the armor that saved him from ruin when he was a child. Later that night, his peers are playing basketball with bricks. Amid their game, there's a commotion and excitement, and Maximus steps outside to find out that his friend and a few others have been chosen to assist the knights in their missions. Afterwards, we see Maximus cleaning the bathrooms alone at night, visibly frustrated and distressed, though the reason for his emotions isn't clear. After finishing, he goes to bed. The next morning, they wake up to the sound of screaming. They find Maximus's friend with her leg severed. He goes to investigate and discovers that her boot had a hidden blade inside it, placed there by someone. Everyone looks at him with suspicion, and they take him outside, terrified and confused. Lucy is in Bunker 33, tending to her injuries, and then attends a meeting with the bunker's residents. They discuss their situation, and eventually, Lucy suggests sending 4 people out of the bunker to search for her father. The others argue against opening the bunker door, citing the recent attack and the need to keep it secure. They emphasize that their priority is not to open the bunker doors. Her brother tells her not to worry, as they won't open the doors, even if it means not finding her father. He explains that they want to maintain control, and that opening the doors would be a risk. Upset, Lucy decides to devise a plan with her brother to secretly leave the bunker. They enlist the help of a gatekeeper relative to open the gate. He agrees to help, but warns her that the outside world is vast and unfamiliar. Lucy insists on going alone, and as soon as she grabs her brother's hand, he collapses. She warns him not to cause trouble, and he assures her he won't. The bridge is closed, and Lucy opens the door, escaping while others are unable to stop her. The door shuts behind her, and she finds it difficult to reopen or breach. Outside, she encounters bones, corpses, and remnants of people who have turned to dust, suggesting they have died under mysterious circumstances. Though she's frightened, she is reassured by the absence of immediate threats and the presence of a sea and buildings. She ventures out, uncertain of her next destination. Then we see Maximus being interrogated by the Brotherhood. He is asked why he joined and how he feels about the Brotherhood. He responds that the Brotherhood took him in from the streets when he had no home, family, or anything else. He says he can never deny their kindness or harm them, and he will always serve the Brotherhood no matter what they ask. The interrogator then asks if he will confess the truth. Maximus remains silent, and the instructor, accompanied by a knight, approaches him. Maximus explains that while he wanted her to be injured, he didn't inflict the injury himself. The interrogator tells him that it is wrong to wish harm upon others and that the negative intentions towards others are not acceptable. Later, we see him in his quarters, and he asks his friend if she knows who did this to her. She tells him it was someone with a lot of anger, but advises him not to worry about it. She also mentions that she told them it wasn't him, and that's why he was likely recommended for the knight's assistant position. Maximus, sitting, with his back exposed as the knight prepares to heat his hand on the armor. Then the instructor announces that Maximus will remain the assistant and servant to Titus the knight, serving his armor until his death. After that, Titus brands Maximus on his back with the emblem of the Brotherhood. Then we see them standing in a huge open field with the knights awaiting their new mission, to capture a runaway who has a dog as his companion. They are given a detailed description of the target on a piece of paper. Maximus then runs beside his knight, carrying a massive bag on his shoulder. The knight boards a plane, followed by Maximus, who can't believe he's now working with a knight and flying on a plane for the first time. Then we see them standing in a huge open field with the knights. It's pitch black outside. 3 criminals, with their leader telling them that their upcoming operation is crucial for their next big job. They're here to release a ghoul buried in a tomb. The leader explains that his father had once released this ghoul before, and it has a liking for chickens. When asked how long the ghoul has been buried there, he replies, "Not sure, but over 100 years. He instructs them to follow his lead, warning them that if they release the wrong one, it won't like chickens, and they should kill it. They go to a nearby graveyard, surrounded by barbed wire, and pull out a chained-up box. Inside, they find a man without a nose who asks, "What do you want?" They tell him they need his help with a job so big they won't need to work again afterward. He responds, "Sounds good, but you guys look weak." They warn him to watch his mouth, and he challenges, and if I don't, they threaten to throw him back in the pit and torture him by cutting his flesh every time. He then punches the gang leader and runs toward one of the 2 remaining gang members, hugging him. The 3rd member shoots the one the ghoul is holding, and the ghoul kills him too. In the end, the ghoul kills the gang leader and leaves the chicken alone. We realize they released the wrong ghoul. The ghoul comments, "They were 3 and dangerous, but it doesn't matter. We're cowboys. We don't give a fuck." This line echoes what the man from the beginning of the series said, revealing that the ghoul is the same man 2 or 19 years after the explosion. Then, we transition to a strange place that looks like a bad government facility. They are waiting for dogs to be born, and any dog that is below a certain weight they set is burned. The dogs that meet the weight criteria are taken and given a specific diet. We then see the scientist, the Iron Brotherhood, was searching for, taking one of the dogs and hiding it in a certain place. It's unclear how the dog managed to stay quiet all this time, but it seems the dog likes the scientist and follows him around, trains with him, and plays with a teddy bear that he chases. After finishing, he hides the dog back inside the wall to sleep and continues training it to sit and follow commands. Later, we see the scientist drinking a lot of alcohol to numb the pain, tying his head, and then injecting himself with something radioactive into his neck. He passes out from the exhaustion. When he wakes up, he quickly hides the dog back in the wall, but his colleague catches him and says, "What's this?" Before he can explain, his colleague pushes him and triggers the alarm. The dog rushes out and attacks the colleague, killing him in seconds to protect its owner. The scientist grabs the dog and tries to escape quickly before anyone discovers what happened. However, a security device catches them before they can leave, and they start getting fired upon. Fortunately, they manage to escape, saving both the scientist and the dog. Then we see Lucy again, walking aimlessly through the desert without encountering anything significant. She comes across some moving leaves, which frightens her until she moves away. Eventually, she finds some locked houses and decides to explore inside. She discovers a whole family dead in their home, realizing they died from poison when she finds and inspects a container. She can't understand what could lead a family to such an end. Continuing her journey, she finds no one around and is desperate to find someone who can tell her the way to her father, but there's no one in sight. Then, night falls, and Lucy collects some wood to start a fire for warmth. She sleeps next to the fire and wakes up to find a man with his dog. The dog moves to eat something large nearby. The man tells her, "People always laugh and scoff at the idea that cockroaches can survive a nuclear explosion, but in the end, they do survive. And not only that, they've evolved. They've become bigger, eat more, and have strong claws to catch big prey like you. Starting a fire in the desert at night is the dumbest thing you could do. You're from the bunkers. I thought they were all dead. Interesting. You don't belong here. You need to leave quickly because you're from a world with laws and civilized people. None of that exists here, and you won't survive." She tells him, "I can't go back without my father. Someone kidnapped him." He responds, "The point is, if you stay here, everything you think and all your goals will change too." Then we see Maximus with Tadius on the plane. Tadius gives him a piece of the armor to clean with disdain. The knight then tells the pilot, "Hey man, land us here. I'm annoyed and want to shoot some rounds." Maximus tells him, "But the place we're heading to isn't here, boss. Our orders are to search a village ahead." The knight grabs the bag and throws it out of the plane. Then he grabs Maximus and jumps out with him, and the plane leaves them behind. Then we see the scientist walking with his dog. He's exhausted and decides to stop and rest. He pulls out a can of corned beef from his bag and sniffs it, contemplating taking a bite. The smell is terrible, so he gives it to the dog and decides not to eat anything. Then we see the dog leaving him and entering a large cave where they were resting. The scientist feels uneasy. The cave looks strange, with warning signs and no humans around. Suddenly, the dog comes back quickly, holding a human hand in its mouth. The scientist realizes the place is dangerous and gets up to leave immediately. Maximus remembers the knight who had helped him when he was younger, and contrasts that knight with the current one, realizing the current knight is not worthy of respect or assistance. The knight asks for the first aid kit, but Maximus decides to let him suffer, believing he doesn't deserve the armor or any help due to his cowardice and dishonorable behavior. Maximus leaves the knight to his fate, feeling justified in his decision. Lucy encounters a man struggling with a water filter that's just pouring out sand. She offers him water, which he drinks. He mentions that in their situation, they must drink any available water, even if they're not thirsty. He questions why she's holding a weapon, to which she explains she's searching for her father. He tells her about a city called Ville, where she might find him, but warns her it's dangerous as he's lost all his family there. He proposes marriage to her, claiming he's ill and won't live much longer and would leave his property to her. Lucy declines politely, thanking him and moving on. Then we see Maximus in front of the armor after the knight has died. He puts it on, and it fits him perfectly. He starts flying and running with it, feeling its power. He begins to play and throw stones and finds two people fighting. He intervenes to stop one of them, and the other one says, "Did you see God? You're interfering in something that's none of your business." The other person runs away, and the man in Maximus's grip says, "Why are you holding me? I was just defending my chicken from being attacked." Maximus feels foolish for his actions, realizing he's not really acting like a knight, and walks away. Then we see Lucy entering the city of Ville, where she finds people selling organs, cat and dog meat, and encounters strange and alarming creatures. She keeps her hand on her weapon, feeling uneasy. As she makes her way through the city, she finds a slightly clean shop and asks the owner about Moldavur. The owner responds, "Oh, you're from the filthy fucking underground dwellers? I thought they were all dead." Lucy asks why, and the owner explains, "The underground dwellers are the rich who went underground during the catastrophe and didn't bring anyone with them." The owner continues, "I suggest you leave. Staying here isn't good for you. You're beautiful, healthy, and have 10 fingers. It's better if you go back from where you came. We all know what you're looking for, but no one will help you." Lucy exits the shop feeling upset, only to find the scientist in front of her, asking why she hasn't returned to her place yet. "You're from Vault 33. Your main produce is corn, and you have a projector showing Texas countryside. You take pride in your heritage," the scientist says. "I know a lot about you, so I'm telling you to leave. It's better for you," he continues. Just then, the shop owner steps outside and asks, "You're the scientist?" He confirms, and she replies, "Come with me. I'll take you in." However, they hear the ghoul's voice saying, "Wait a minute, you two." The ghoul then demands the scientist, and the shopkeeper says, "I don't want trouble. My job is to get this man safely to Moldavur." The ghoul responds, "This man has a huge bounty on his head across the 6 major sectors, and I'm taking him now." The shopkeeper retorts, "I'll fucking kill this ghoul. I have a huge reward for that too." She then shoots the ghoul. People try to kill the ghoul but fail, while Lucy enters to look for Moldavur's number or address in the notebook. She exits to save them and warns the ghoul that she will have to kill him to stop him from harming others, as he was about to kill her. The ghoul chases Lucy while Maximus tells her, "I need to return this man with me, so keep him safe until I deal with the ghoul." Lucy agrees. "Sure, it's simple." She takes the man inside, where the shopkeeper fits him with a prosthetic leg. Then she asks, "Are you going to deliver him to Moldavur as requested?" Lucy replies, "You won't be able to get close to her without something to negotiate with." Anyway, since she's asked for this man alive, I'll take care of it. Trust me, because people from the vaults are known to do what they say. Here are the coordinates. Rely on God. Outside, Maximus fights the ghoul. The ghoul, unimpressed with Maximus's skills, eventually destroys his armor, saying, "You're still new and don't know how to use the armor." He hits Maximus so hard that he flies away. The ghoul then looks around and finds the man's blood. The dog is dead, but the scientist revives it with an injection. Meanwhile, Maximus is thrown away and unable to return. At the same time, the scientist tells Lucy in the desert, "I'm gonna die, I can't continue." Lucy reassures him, "Don't say that, you're not gonna die." He responds, "No, I took a cyanide pill, so I'm gonna die to make it easier for you. Don't worry about Moldavore. She doesn't want me, she just wants my head. Just cut off my head and take it. It's easier than taking the rest of the dead body." And the episode ends with Lucy starting the chainsaw to decapitate him. The episode 2 ends. If you want to know what happens next, click on like button so we can summarize it for you and post it as soon as possible. If the video reaches 5,000 likes,